use phrases, and they use January 6th, the report, as a basis for this as well. They cite things like fight like hell, go to the Capitol, go by different rules, and that Trump supporters, and this is, they're quoting the president, said they listened to him like no one else. So the president legal team fought against that as a pretext. The court said that they disagreed. But then you go to the dissent, and I think this is the big question here. The dissent said this: how is the results of this fair? How can we expect Coloradans to embrace this outcome as fair? Below, how does this protect the interests of Coloradans in voting for the candidate of their choosing? So how do you answer that question? How is this fair to the people of Colorado? And is this really due process?
Well, it's not fair, and there's about a half a dozen reasons why. The opinion from the state of Colorado was over 200 pages long, and so it's easy to grab a headline from that. But as we get deep into the legal issues, one of the legal issues is that the state court that actually reached the ruling that an insurrection occurred used the January 6th congressional findings, and that's something that would typically be considered hearsay in a court of law. And so at the end of the day, what we're looking at is a state court judge making a determination that there was an act of insurrection, relying upon the highly partisan January 6th Commission to make that finding in a 5-day trial that effectively will change the shape of the entire American presidency.
So this case is really based on two questions, and one of them is, did Trump commit this insurrection? And the other is, does Section 3 of Article 14, or the 14th Amendment, rather, can that be applied to the presidency? Can you tell us what Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is? First of all, that's going to come up a lot, so I'm sure a lot of people want to know about that. And also, do you think that the former president incited an insurrection?
Well, so the idea of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is a clause that was put in after the Civil War. And we have to remember what that means. The Civil War, where hundreds of thousands of Americans took up arms against each other, trying to create two separate nations here. That's the notion of insurrection at the time that that clause was written into the Constitution. And then to ask the question of whether an insurrection took place here. Well, in a nightmare scenario where a president who's leaving office attempted to create an insurrection. I mean, that's the idea of raising armies. That's the idea of blood in the streets, where there is a real Civil War type event that takes place. The idea of January 6th, where there was an angry mob of folks who had a moment of speech where they started to scream and yell at politicians at the state or at the national Capitol. While that is something that is a terrible event to have taken place, to call that an insurrection, commiserate with what we're talking about with the Civil War, is something that I simply do not see. And I don't see there having been a due process type system having taken place to give Donald Trump the right and opportunity to fight that allegation.
Could you tell me how this looks? So you have 13 separate states they had 9. They got these 9 of these states got their court case dismissed, not valid. We're going to move on.